Hey everybody, Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch here with Lincoln-Goldfinch Law with our regular Tuesday Facebook Live video. And today is a very special day, special topic, special guest. I'm so excited to introduce you guys to my husband, Joshua Meyer. Welcome, Joshua.
Hey, thank you. Good morning.
We're in the same house right now, working from home. But Josh was lucky he got the garage. He gets to work in the garage, and I get to work in this space. But he's happy with it, right, Josh? You've got your phone back there. He likes to get on that phone with our daughter, Nora, and have fun calls with her.
You're talking about this one?
Yeah. Notice it's not plugged into anything.
I'll be right back.
We have pretty elaborate calls. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. We have a big announcement at Lincoln-Goldfinch Law. It's very exciting. And what we want to tell you guys about is the new service that we're offering. So as a little bit of background, for the last several years, we've noticed that our clients who don't have a Social Security number all of a sudden get a Social Security number for the first time and then don't know how to manage the American debt and credit system, because it's the way that we run debt and credit in the United States is very different than a lot of other countries. People are encouraged to buy all sorts of items on credit, your home, your vehicle, even just your daily items. A lot of people use credit cards just to pay their daily items and then ideally pay it off at the end of the month. But it's easy for people to get in over their heads, to lose their job or to fall victim to unscrupulous lenders who target naive borrowers who may not understand what they're getting themselves into and offer them credit at such high interest rates that they get in over their heads. So we've noticed a pattern with new Americans, with immigrants who finally get a Social Security number who don't know how to manage the system. And so we've talked a lot about beginning to offer you guys financial literacy services and, learning how to build your credit well and do it safely. And now with the pandemic happening and so many people losing their jobs and getting really in difficult financial troubles, it became clear that we needed to offer a service to you guys. So we are going to be opening the practice to provide bankruptcy services at Lincoln-Goldfinch Law. And bankruptcy, for those of you who aren't familiar, is a way in which people who have gotten themselves in over their head with their debt can wipe out their debt. It's a sort of foundational part of the United States system, and it is what encourages people in a capitalist society to take risks. And so bankruptcy is here as a backdrop for people who get in over their heads, and it's a service that we're going to be providing for you guys. And as part of that, just like on the immigration side, we want to be talking to you guys not about bankruptcy, but about financial literacy and how to build your credit well. And if things go wrong, we'll be here to back you guys up. So as always on these videos, put your comments up. We'd love to hear from you. Your questions, we'll answer them live during the video. Put them up after the video and we'll continue to respond. Or you can, let me see, I'm looking for the banners. Okay. Or you guys can always call or text this number if you have personal questions. As with immigration, bankruptcy can be kind of personal and private, and you may not want to put your question on blast. And so feel free to just text us, call us, or send us a private Facebook message, and we'd be happy to talk to you guys. And just like on the immigration side, we're not charging for our consultations, or we have free phone evaluations, free consultations. So there's really no reason not to just reach out and check in. So with all the preliminary housekeeping done, why is my husband Josh here on this video today? Josh, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here today?
Sure. Well, I'm really excited about this venture. Been looking for an opportunity to help people for quite some time now. I spent last 20 years or so at Dell Technologies and working in various sales, project management, program management roles. And of course, I helped out clients and fellow co-workers plenty. But I've always wanted a job in a career where I'm helping people. And so Katie and I were talking about the need now for this sort of a service with the firm. And I got really excited. And I wanted to come and help launch the practice, or the division of the practice at the firm. So here we are. We're working on launching the practice. A little bit about me, a little bit about my background. I grew up on a farm in southern Minnesota. Played a whole lot of sports growing up. I went to school in northern Minnesota. Moved down to Texas in the late 90s, and I've been here for 23 years. I love being a daddy, and I love helping people out. We thought it'd be a great idea to take a look at Chapter 1 in the National Consumer Law Center's book on surviving debt. That's available on their website for free. And I believe Kate is putting a link in the comments section below.
I am going to put a link here. This is such a great resource that usually you would have to pay to get, and during the pandemic they're offering it for free, and there's a lot of helpful stuff. We're just going to talk about Chapter 1 today, but there's a lot of chapters. So here's the link. Check it out. If you are having issues with debt, it's a really good resource.
Right. So the essential rules of surviving debt. Rule number 1 is about deciding which debt to pay when you don't have enough money to pay them all. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about that for us, Katie?
Sure. And so I'm going to be putting the rules up on the screen. So rule number 1 is all about prioritizing your debt. So we're talking about people who are in the situation, they've got all these debts to pay back and not enough money coming in to pay back all the debts. Maybe you have enough to cover some, but not all. So the thing that you want to keep in mind is, what are your high priority debts? Those are the debts you need to be paying first. Those are going to be any court judgment against you, because they can start to garnish your wages. Any criminal justice debt, like if you owe fines after an arrest or a conviction, you want to continue paying those. Any auto payments, particularly if you have a loan on your automobile, well, obviously you do if you have payments, and the car is collateral. That means it could get repossessed if you don't pay it, and if you need your vehicle, you need to continue paying those loans. That's called a secured debt. Any payments for your residence, like your rent or your mortgage. Obviously, those are high priority. You don't want to lose your home, so focus on those. Utility bills are really important, so you don't get your lights turned off. And then, of course, child support debts. Any other taxes you want to pay, although we'll talk in a minute about how you can work on rearranging payments, and federal student loans, because they will sue you if you don't pay. The debts that are lower priority that you can bump to the bottom are typically the unsecured debts, where they can't really take anything from you if you don't pay them. That would be like medical debt. And a lot of immigrants get themselves into trouble over medical debt because, one thing we didn't mention is that immigrants are eligible for bankruptcy even without a Social Security number. But typically you don't take on debt until you have a Social Security number. But medical debt is one way that someone might have a bunch of debt even though they didn't have a Social Security number. Credit card debt, that's a big one. People tend to want to just pay off their credit cards to get them off their backs. It's not a secured debt. So focus on the high priority, your home, your car, your taxes, your fines and penalties. Any debts that you owe your friends or your family, these are the low priority. Private student loans, debts that you may be a co-signer on, like let's say you co-sign on your kid's car loan, that's a low priority debt. Or if your car's already been repossessed and you have a deficiency action, meaning you still owe money, that's a low priority. Any other accounts that you might owe to merchants or small loans. So the big ones are taxes, home, auto, child support, criminal fines and penalties, and court judgments. Keep those payments going and let the other stuff go if you have to make a decision.
Okay. Rule number 2 is around debt collectors and being harassed by debt collectors and how you manage getting these calls.
Sure. I mean, the first thing to keep in mind is that, this is, Josh and I were just talking about like what an awful job this would be to be a debt collector, like for a credit card company, because their goal is to stress you out so much that you just do anything to get them off your back. And so they're harassing you, they're making you calls. And one thing that's great about bankruptcy is it contains an automatic stay. So the minute you file bankruptcy, they can't call you anymore, which is awesome. But just keeping in mind that if they're threatening to sue you, that's very different than actually suing you. So threats to sue you are just that, they're threats. And then a lot of people are feeling just feelings of obligation or stress about having these harassing calls and messages coming in. Josh and I talked to someone last week who was in over his head financially, received a windfall, like he had a payment and he chose to use this windfall, this money, to pay off a credit card debt, an unsecured credit card debt. And immediately the credit card company took his money and reduced his credit limit to zero. So it was like, and this is someone, and once you file bankruptcy, those debts are eradicated. So just getting yourself, you don't want to be in the position where you're making decisions to stop the harassment. That's not where you want to be coming from when you're dealing with people who are harassing you.
Okay. Rule number 3 is around stretching out your dollars and your debt. What are some of the ways you can reduce your monthly payments? Sure.
This mostly comes down to talking to the creditors who are going to be flexible with you. A lot of mortgage lenders are allowing forbearances right now on mortgages. Start with that. That's a big dollar payment typically. Start with them. Start with your federal student loans. They'll allow you to forbear your payments. Taxes, real estate taxes, utility debt, sometimes auto loans, court judgments, criminal justice debt, and federal income taxes. These are all the types. I'm listing the high priority debts that we talked about in rule number 1. Try talking to these lenders and seeing if they'll extend out your payments or give you a forbearance. There's a lot of protections right now during the pandemic in local areas and federally. So you want to try calling the lenders and see what kind of forbearances you can get. One big thing is to always be cautious about taking on more debt to pay other debt. So you do not ever want to be taking out, putting debt on a credit card, a high interest credit card to pay off other debt. Be cautious of, credit limits at your bank or any other, taking on a loan to pay off debt. That's typically not going to be a good idea.
Rule number 4, avoiding scams. Talking about vulnerable people looking for solutions, and they are at risk of falling prey to scams.
Yeah, and so this ties into number 3. There are people who are in financial trouble and they are vulnerable to creditors who want to take advantage of them. And that's the reality of vulnerable people, is that predators will try to prey on them. And so be very, very cautious of companies that are advertising to you with a solution to consolidating debt, eliminating debt, settling your debt, rescuing you from foreclosure, credit repair, reverse mortgages, small loans like a payday loan or an auto title loan, which sometimes can have interest rates of up to 40%, you guys. Refinancing, consolidating loans, student debt relief scams. These are all rent-to-own companies, auto brokers, subprime credit cards, and then overdraft protection on your bank accounts. These are all predatory lending practices that you don't want to fall prey to just because you're in financial trouble.
Rule number 5 is about how when bankruptcy is the right solution for you.
Okay, did I get 5 up on the screen? Now let me put 5 up on the screen. And this is something we can help you guys with. It's different for everyone. We can't tell you right now. It's like when people tell me, if I don't have a driver's license, should I show my matricula consular to the police officer when I get pulled over driving? This is a case-specific, fact-based scenario that we need to talk to you guys about your situation before we can advise you. We're happy to do it free of charge. Just give us a call. Some things to keep in mind about bankruptcy are that people often think of it as a last resort because there's shame around bankruptcy. But remember, we talked about this is a cornerstone of the United States government and our society and our culture. We believe that good people get into bad luck situations and might need bankruptcy. So the first thing is to try to just erase the shame from it. And we've got a pandemic going on. People are going to get into trouble and need help. That's just the reality of it. It's not your fault. There's nothing to be ashamed about. So starting with the mindset issue is number 1. That's not in the chapter. That's just me on my soapbox. But, people often think they're going to lose property in a bankruptcy, like they're going to lose their home or their car. That's the purpose often, is to save your property. Most of the time you don't lose anything in a bankruptcy. And what we see actually is that people wait too long. They wait till they've already lost property. They've had wages garnished. They've had their home foreclosed. They've had their car repossessed. And then they think about bankruptcy. And it's like, oh, I wish we could have talked to you at the beginning of all of this. And then not to mention all that stress and those sleepless nights when there's a solution. It's not the solution for everyone. We'll help you guys think through that. Just give us a call. And let me put the number on the screen. One more time. This is our phone number. Call us, text us, message us on Facebook. We're here to help you guys. Okay. One more rule.
Rule number 6, getting help. How do you know how to pick a bankruptcy lawyer?
Okay, so obviously we think you should pick us, but you know, as we were talking about with it's the same in the immigration sphere as it is in the bankruptcy sphere. There's some practice areas that are dealing with people in vulnerable situations where you have to be careful in selecting whom you hire to help you, because there are predators who take advantage of vulnerable people in the world. That's just a reality of humanity. So, you know, at our firm, we are not here to just sell you a service and say goodbye to you. Really, you guys are our family. We want to help you. We want to usher you through the process as painlessly, as quickly as possible, and then be there for you guys on the other side, helping you rebuild your credit, get back into financial health. This is what we're all about. As Josh told you guys, he quit his job at Dell, a 20-year job in the middle of a pandemic, because this matters so much, because we see it coming, that this is going to be a big need for our clients, the people that we care about, and we're here to help you guys, and you're in good hands with us. And so call us, text us, share this with your friends. No, you know, just send us a message. Say like, I don't even know if this is something I should be considering right now. And just as you can count on us on the immigration side, to be honest with you, the same is true on the bankruptcy side. We're not just going to push you into something unless it's right for you. We're going to tell you the risks, the benefits, and help you make an informed decision about what is the best choice for you. So, our first Facebook Live together. What did you think, Josh? Were you nervous?
I love it. Thank you for having me. Really glad to be here.
Well, I'm so happy to be working together. It's been really fun. It's a joy to have you at the firm. So, thanks for doing it.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for being here with us today, guys. We look forward to seeing you next week, and have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.